Good morning, everyone. It's Sunday, November 17th. Boston's Mayor Michelle Wu is our guest this morning. Let's go on the record. 3 years after a historic election, the mayor faces a rapidly shifting political landscape with Republicans sweeping into Washington. What happens to a blue city like Boston? It's time to go on the record.
From WCVB Channel 5, the inside word from Washington to Beacon Hill. Today's newsmakers are going on the record.
Welcome to OTR, everyone. I'm Ed Harding.
I'm Charmin Sacchetti, and with us at the table, as you see, is Boston Mayor Michelle Wu. It was November 2021 that you became the first elected mayor to lead the city. Thank you so much for joining us.
Always a pleasure.
Great to see you, Mayor Wu. All right, and happy Thanksgiving. I know we're getting close to it, but happy Thanksgiving. So, since 2014, let's talk about the city of Boston. Boston has considered itself a sanctuary city, which, as you know, limits cooperation with some federal immigration laws. President-elect Trump has promised mass deportations after he returns to the White House. How will you respond as mayor of the largest city in the state, the largest city in New England, and a powerful city in this country?
Yeah, well, as you mentioned, for the last decade or so, we have had laws on the books. I was actually serving on the city council at that point when we passed the Trust Act. And I think it's important to get a little bit into what exactly that means, because sometimes people use the term sanctuary city to mean a city that is welcoming of immigrants, which of course we are and have always been. And sometimes that is used to suggest that there might be some immunity where criminal actions are you look the other way at and this and that. So in terms of Boston's policy, there's a prohibition on resources and personnel going to enforce civil immigration detainers, meaning Boston Police and other departments cannot cooperate with ICE when it comes to detaining on civil warrants. There's still room for cooperation when it comes to the issues that matter to all of our residents: human trafficking, drug trafficking, cyber crimes. And so just want to assure everyone that when this passed and in the decades since, it has always been about safety. In fact, the ordinance passed with the full support of not only our local leaders, but law enforcement at every level, because we want immigrants to know that it is safe for everyone to be able to feel comfortable reaching out for emergency services, to report a crime, to ask for help, and generally to be part of our community.
Is it fair to say Boston has struggled with the migrant crisis, or is that not fair?
No, I mean, resources are stretched. We are already in a housing crisis, and we know that our shelter system, for example, which the city runs the individual adult shelters, the state runs the family shelters. At the individual level, we have been at winter levels of overcapacity already during the summer, and much of that is because of newly arrived residents.
Already during the summer. Yeah.
One of your predecessors, Boston Mayor Marty Walsh, former Boston Mayor Marty Walsh, went so far as to open up City Hall to undocumented immigrants. What will Boston's response be if these mass deportations take place?
Yeah, look, elections have consequences, and the federal government is responsible for a certain set of actions, and no individual city can reverse or override some parts of that. But what we can do is make sure that we are doing our part to protect our residents in every possible way, that we are not cooperating with those efforts that actually threaten the safety of everyone by causing widespread fear and having large-scale economic impact. And then we are providing the spaces to reach out directly to our residents, because the last thing we want is for people who are part of our economy, part of our school system, part of our community and the fabric of our city to feel that all of a sudden they have to retreat into the shadows because of fear that reaching out to city services, whether it's calling 911 when you need it or taking your child to school, those are all city services that have nothing to do with immigration enforcement, and we will continue to protect our residents within those spaces.
Voters made it clear on Election Day they do want government officials like you to focus on pocketbook issues, the economy a big issue, also housing. It's the #1 issue, and you've spent a lot of time working on it, but what's happening out there?
Yeah, I think we have seen and continue to feel that you can try to work on any issue, but if you can't afford to stay in the community that you love and you've helped build, everything else is secondary or just feels like it doesn't matter. And so we've been doing everything that we can. Boston, in fact, put more towards housing affordability over the last 3 years than we have ever, with the help of federal recovery funds and some of our other programs. We've seen thousands of units of affordable housing get permitted, more than in the last 25 years.
You're making a lot of progress on this. You're making a lot of gains.
It's not enough, but we have been pushing ourselves to do more than ever before, and we will continue to hold to that standard.
And quickly, I just want to talk to you about the property tax proposal. Right now, that's in a committee in the legislature. Yes. what do you anticipate? I know nobody really has a crystal ball here, but what do you anticipate will happen in the next couple of months?
Yeah, I'm very, very grateful that we reached a consensus. This proposal would protect residents and avoid a gigantic spike in residential property taxes while commercial taxes still go down as well, but it just moderates and preserves balance. We had heard from the legislature that they really wanted to see consensus from the business community and a clear, updated legislative vehicle, so we sent a new home rule through. The City Council passed it 12-1 overwhelmingly, and we are working through the process. There's a hearing scheduled very shortly, and so we will continue to monitor. Tax bills need to be finalized by early December, so the clock is ticking, and we're working as quickly as we can.
Let's talk about the closure of the Kearney Hospital. Now, you have said that you oppose any effort to rezone the property for any use other than healthcare. Have you gotten any interest from healthcare companies?
So we are, the governor and I had convened a task force. Thank you so much to Dr. Pasola Ojikutu from the Boston Public Health Commission and Attorney Michael Curry, who are co-chairing it, along with a distinguished group of leaders from the neighborhoods, institutions, healthcare, and et cetera. And there have been 2 meetings so far out of 4 that are planned. There will be public listening sessions, and the goal is that there will be a set of recommendations for what we need to strengthen healthcare access. It won't look like how it looked before, but we do hear very clearly we need emergency services, we need some preventative services.
So that area is still going to be healthcare.
That is our intention. Of course, the question will be who can run that sustainably and where will the financial resources come from, but we need to have a specific idea first of what we're aiming for.
As an offshoot of that, would you consider changing your position if housing entered into the equation?
I think it's pretty clear. So the first meeting of this task force reviewed the gaps that are now there. And we hear it from Boston Medical Center, from BI in Milton, that since that emergency room shut down, everywhere else has already become more strained. So my sense, and we'll see, the task force will do its work, is that we need some component to continue to fill those gaps because that's a really important geographical area that would be a healthcare desert otherwise.
Let's move to the proposed soccer stadium in Everett. It's back on track, and Boston's going to play a major role. Boston's going to have a major say here. You've expressed concerns about how Charlestown could be impacted by traffic. Everett's mayor says he's confident everything's going to work itself out. Are you just as confident as the mayor of Everett?
Well, I look forward to learning about the details because there haven't been very many so far. But what we know is that our sports teams are great for the city, not only just from the dollars that come from economic development and the small businesses that are part of the foot traffic and energy and excitement, the sense of pride, and then also the connection to local sports teams and the feeling that, as a championship city, this is part of our identity. The details matter, though, and it seems so far that it will be sited in a way that the main transportation won't be through Everett, but will be through Boston, through the Sullivan Square T Station and Charlestown. Right now, there's not very good or safe pedestrian infrastructure at all, so we have to have some real conversations about how to move tens of thousands of people.
Well, if we're going to talk about traffic, let's talk about bike lanes, because I got to be honest with you. I hear a lot of grousing about, but every time I go into the city, you live in the city, so what say you about the bike lanes?
Yeah, I think there's some, we're a growing city, and prior to the pandemic, Boston was already the city with the worst traffic congestion at rush hour of any city in the country. We beat LA, unfortunately, in that area as well. And so a lot of plans were started many years ago of how do we move more people on our streets. Those plans take time. Some of them have now just come into fruition, and it can be, as traffic came back after the pandemic, it can be tempting to say, well, maybe some of the changes actually led to traffic, when in fact we're increasing residents, we're increasing jobs. We need to find ways to move people. We're doing things like changing.
Do you think some of these bike lanes are increasing congestion in certain areas, like Boylston Street, for instance? That's one area.
So we measure very carefully, and especially with the new infrastructure, our goal is to keep returning to it to understand not just why it would be safer to have separation and save lives from different people who are using the street, but also whether it's working for everyone, including vehicular drivers. And those kinds of measurements and numbers, we try to be as transparent as possible. There are cases where sometimes the street actually should have slowed down traffic for safety reasons. Residents want more like a 25 mile an hour speed zone, and we've been installing speed humps.
So it sounds like you're not saying it's really causing additional congestion.
There are places, any change in the street has ripple effects, and we need to measure very carefully what that is. We need to be able to justify that we are making improvements, but oftentimes traffic isn't caused by a change in the allocation. It can be caused by the signals not being timed right, or curbside pickup for food takeout not being, having a 2-hour spot instead of 5 minutes.
And New York has kicked up the congestion pricing again. Would that land in Boston, congestion pricing?
I know the state is working through a task force for some recommendations. I think every tool needs to be on the table. Congestion pricing sometimes is billed as a way to slow traffic. Sometimes it's billed as a way to generate money to fund public transportation. So you have to be clear about what the goals are. But what we're doing is focusing on what we can control at the city level. We're trying to get a hold of the illegal behavior that's been happening with increasing scooters and food delivery. We are trying to look at signal timing, and Boston is one of 2 cities in the country where Google is partnering with us to use their real-time traffic data and AI to say, actually, here's a place where the light's not green for long enough. In the places we've implemented that already, stop-and-go traffic has been reduced by 50%. So we can see as we apply it more broadly, there will be more ways to tackle traffic.
Mayor Wu's in the chair. We're on the record. Stay with us.